saw this movie that had actually come out in April. I didn't get to see it in theaters. I don't know if it was more of the case of me just kind of forgetting that it was out in theaters, having a lack of interest of it being out in theaters or whatever, but I waited to see it on streaming. I got to see it middle of May, I think. This film is called Renfield, directed by Chris McKay. Chris McKay, a guy that I really like. He directed the Lego Batman movie, a movie that I find quite delightful. Renfield stars Nicholas Hoult, Nicolas Cage, Awkwafina, and Ben Schwartz. And the premise of Renfield is tired of being Dracula's henchman and punching bag. Renfield decides it is time to stand up to his abusive boss. However, when your boss is Dracula, leaving is a much easier said thing than actually done. And let's get into this movie because there's one reason that this movie has fun in it. And that reason is Nick Cage. Nicolas Cage is literally in National Treasures and a national treasure. He is having a ball in this movie. And you can just feel him embracing this source material. This is a guy who loves this type of movie. He loves the old school 1930s Universal monster movies. So for him, getting to play Dracula is kind of a dream come true. And that energy is emitted through the screen. You can really feel Nick Cage's enthusiasm playing the iconic Dracula, and he's really going for it, and it's really funny throughout. This isn't a case of Nick Cage being so crazy that we're all laughing, but we're laughing at him. This is the case of Nick Cage completely understanding the tone of this film, and he's in on the joke. It's a very great performance from him. He's having a ball in this film. Like I said, he is just so perfectly cast as this character of Dracula, as is Renfield. Nicholas Hoult, who is an actor who I wouldn't necessarily think of him to be a guy to lead the film as he is asked to do in this film, but he does an admirable enough job. He has good chemistry with the cast, and especially his scenes with Nicolas Cage are the best. Everything revolving around Renfield, Dracula, this whole group meeting and this, throwing around terms like gaslighting or abusive work relationships, that all really works to wonderful effects. When this is a workplace comedy, Renfield really succeeds to wonderful effects. The issue is this is not a workplace comedy. This is kind of a crime movie, a crime comedy. Ben Schwartz, who voices Sonic the Hedgehog, he is a gangster. I think he's like the mob head. And his storyline really feels like it is there to add action scenes. And thus, when you have action scenes, then you can have Dracula biting people and blood everywhere. And it is in here for action's sake. You don't actually feel like this storyline has any real impact. That's the same with Awkwafina, who plays a cop that Renfield ends up like having a crush on. She's again there to kind of add this romantic relationship, add to the action sequences. And it doesn't really work in any particular meaningful way. When the film focuses in on Nick Cage and Nicholas Hoult, this movie is a ton of fun. The issue is the film doesn't focus in on itself enough. It focuses much more broadly. It's trying to be an action comedy. It's trying to be a crime movie. It's trying to be a workplace comedy. It's trying to be a broad comedy. It also at just times just goes straight for horror. There's too much going on within Renfield to satisfy any one of those things. Thus, all of these ideas and story beats feel undercooked, which is a disappointment because, like I said, Nick Cage was born for this role, and I wish the rest of the film lived up to him. It is the case of Renfield is a funny idea with lackluster execution. Thus, I can't get it a fresh review. I cannot get it to 3 stars. It's falling right below at 2.5 out of 5 stars. I definitely enjoyed watching this movie just solely based on the Nicolas Cage dynamic and how he interacts with everyone else in this film. He is so strong that he is able to pick up the weak aspects, but to actually get the movie to a good movie, even his talent is not able to reach greatness in this movie as it needs to. Thus, Renfield is a 2.5 out of 5 star movie.